Hi everyone. So I was asked recently to do a video on how I find levels or supply and demand zones using a volume profile. But first I just wanted to spend a couple of minutes on what a volume profile is. So the components of a volume profile are value area high, value area low, and the point of control or POC. So each week and each month, you've got a value area high and a value area low, and the point of control is where the heaviest volume, the most transactions at a given price. The POC, the point of control, is always very messy. I always hedge caution when trading around a POC. But one thing to think about is 70% of all volume is transacted within the value area high and the value area low. In order to create, this is considered imbalance. And in order to create an imbalance, i.e., breakout, there must be enough volume that changes hands within the value area to create an imbalance. So the accumulation is building and building and building, and there's going to be a breakout one way or the other, and that happens as this volume and this accumulation accrues in this volume area, and then you finally see a breakout to the upside or the downside. And it's real evident when you start looking at volume profiles carefully. When we're looking at this was the second week of June, we tapped up here, came down, spent some time accumulating here for the next move. What was that next move? Well, it was a breakout to the downside, a nice short. Created a value area here. We had a look below, and it rejected and bounced back in. Here's another tip or trick. Once, if you're looking for a really good entry, aside from intraday trading, if you're looking for a really good entry on a long or short position, always mark these value area highs and lows because they will often be the point of entry. So here was the value area low for this week, but this was the value area low for this week. So price on week 3 of June had a look below its value area, got rejected right at the value area low of the previous week, and we bounced right back into value. So that's a good point of entry. Also, the value area high can be a good rejection point where price is pushed back into value. And that's exactly what happened here. It had a look above value, rejected, and came back down. So those are the components of the value area, and those are areas that I always mark as levels. So I am marking, at least for a good 4 weeks, the value area lows here, 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 the value area highs, which are here, here, and here, and then the points of control. I consider all of these levels extremely important. In terms of intraday trading levels, I am just essentially looking for shelves, low volume nodes where price has rejected or bounced off of several times. So when I'm creating a zone, I'm looking for rejection or bounces. So for instance, if we look at this right here, this was a lower volume node and a shelf, this shelf right here, it was a reject here, and it came up and right up to that part of this low volume node here. So you see the price came right up to here, which was the top, or I'm sorry, the bottom of this low volume node. So I'm going to mark that as a level. I'm just going to, or a zone, I'm sorry. I'm going to take this, here's our low volume node right here from the previous week, a rejection here, So this is going to be a definite level for me, right down to that rejection, which was just this past week. That's an important zone. You could also draw it all the way up to the top of this if you'd like, but you see all of the little reject, the accumulation. Here's a bounce, here's a rejection, here's a rejection. Price came back down to this zone here, so that's going to be a zone. One other thing that I always mark is extreme weekly highs. Those are perfect for future potential rejections. So I'm marking extreme weekly high here. I'm marking extreme weekly high on this one this week, and I'm also marking extreme weekly high on this one on this week. Now, when we don't have any other information, let's take a look here. Hold on. Let's just do a couple more here. So we've got a volume shelf here. Volume, you've got big volume in here, and then it got rejected several times right in this zone. So I'm going to mark that as a zone. So we've got, let's see, right at the, and I'll show you this in just a second. So this is considered a shelf where volume has come up and then dropped off significantly, and that's a shelf, and it can be a point of rejection when it's coming up to it, and of course support when it's coming down to it. This would be another zone that I would create based on this little tiny shelf here. And we've had a couple of rejections here. On the support side, well, this one's pretty easy. Look at all of the bounces here. We've got bounce, 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 bounce. Just consistent. So, and that is also a shelf here. And volume drops off pretty heavily here. So I'm absolutely going to mark this as a important zone. I'm looking here. Look at this here. We've got huge volume drop off right here. We've got rejection, rejection, rejection. We've got consolidation here. So this is going to be a zone for me. And then, of course, you got your point of control right below that where it's going to get a little bit choppier and messier. Okay, so on to where we don't have a lot of other information. So we've just started July, and there's nothing above it, right, in the recent past. So I'm going to move on to a 4-hour. By the way, this is a weekly 1-hour. I create most of my levels using a weekly 1-hour, but when I don't have any other information to go by, we've got lots of information. If we're coming down it, we could create levels all day long. But if we're going to move higher based on what July is doing so far, we don't know. There's a whole lot of accumulation going on right in here, but we've got the extreme weekly high for week 2 of June, but aside from that, we don't have anything. So I'm going to switch this to a 4-hour, and then let's look at a monthly view. And we're going to have to go back to 2022. Bear with me. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to turn some of these off for a minute so we can look at the price action up here. Okay, so this gets really interesting. We have a virgin point of control. A virgin point of control is a point of control that has never been revisited. And this is back in January of 2022. This POC at 15,813 has never been revisited. So you know darn well I'm going to be putting a huge red flag on this one, because that's going to be real fun if we revisit that. Also, it's almost near the March 2022 extreme monthly high. So this is going to be a very key zone, or point of interest to watch. Also, almost in February of 2022, the extreme monthly high was just shy of that point of control. So this whole area is going to be extremely important. Put it right about there. Okay, so again, I'm going to be marking value area highs and value area lows for these months back in 2022, because if we come up here, they're going to have meaning. Boy, wouldn't it be nice if we came all the way back up here to 17,082, but marking these value area highs, these value area lows. And then I'm simply looking for common areas of rejections based or bounces based on previous price action. Let's see. So we've got this one. Here's extreme monthly high in April of 2022. That's going to be a zone, and I'm going to bring that right down to the shelf of the this higher volume node right here. That's going to be a zone for me. Let's see what else we've got here. This obviously, which is also the value area high in February 2022, but was a huge rejection spot. And we've got a rejection there, and we've got a bounce there. So this is obviously a key zone for me. And if we move up, we've got some interesting things here. This is December 21. We've got the extreme monthly low in December of 2021. We've got a shelf right here in January 2022. And a lot of bounces and a rejection, a bounce right there. Let's see. Coming up here, another shelf, a huge point of rejection, and a bounce, 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 rejection, rejection, all kinds of rejections here. And keep in mind, we're on a 4 hour, so these are big zones. And this is a lower volume node here. It's a shelf here. And there's my zone. Coming up here, we've got a shelf, we've got a rejection, all kinds of rejections. We've got, bounces here. And we've got rejections here, so this is obviously another zone. Rejection, rejection, rejection. Accumulation, rejection, rejection. Top of a shelf, kind of a top of a shelf. Looking over here, we've got the bottom of this shelf. It provides a ton of support, and I'll show that in just a second. Bounce, bounce, rejection, bounce, bounce. That's another level. So I just go through this. I go through the entire volume profiles, look for the low volume nodes, look for the high volume nodes, particularly the shelves and the low volume nodes, the point of controls, the value area highs, the value area lows, and that is exactly how I create my levels. Hope this helps. Ask me questions. Have a great evening.